Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mech Lab. Today we'll be going over the tournament format for the latest tournament starting on September 1st, I believe. It might start on the 8th. No, it says here, 1st of September. Pairings announced August 27th. Are you afraid of the Dark Age? Now, this is a Dark Age tournament for Battletech. It takes place in the year 3150. So any tech around that time is going to be available, which I will tell you, it is a heck of a lot. I'll be going over some of the mechs that I might recommend in the future, and sort of some of the lesser known special pieces of tech that you might want to use. But just for now, we'll go over just the basics about the tournament format. Now, there is a standard format for the MRC, which is the Mech Commander Review something or other. Mech Commander Review Circuit, that's what it's called. So we have their basic rules are pretty much core Battletech Classic, or just Battletech. Some people refer to it as Classic because of Alpha Strike. And the rules are pretty much basic, and then they have a few special rules that are going to be used during the tournament. We'll go over these here. So, first off, game rules here. 15 turns, and you must destroy 80% of the battle value of the enemy units. Now, the battle value limit is 10,000. I'm sure that's listed in here somewhere, but... oh, yeah, it's right there. Time limits are 3 hours. Now, I personally haven't had any practice matches that I've timed, but 3 hours seems very, very generous. I don't think that there's going to be any problems with completing a match in 3 hours. Now, if we go into the list building here, you have to send it into that email, obviously. Pretty simple. This package is available on the MRC Discord server. Now, 10k battle value, Dark Age era, 4 to 6 unit limit. So you have to have at least 4, and you can take up to 6, but you can't have any more than that. Which means that things like spamming infantry for initiative sinking, Savannah Master Swarms, that kind of cheesy stuff is discouraged. And we'll get into a few other cheesy sort of things in the next section as well. So 4 to 6 battle mechs, omni mechs, battle armor, combat vehicles, max 1 VTOL. You can't spam VTOLs, so there's no VTOL spamming. However, it is very valuable to have anti-air as well. I have faced a few lists that have these VTOLs, and some of them are actual linchpins. For example, there's one that has ECM that is absolutely a linchpin of the list. Sorry, not ECM. It has C3, and it is the keystone C3 unit. Is basically just flies up next to enemy mechs and gives a better to hit roll for whatever units are further away. It uses an archer with a bunch of MML9s. That list was quite nasty. Now, proto-mechs are allowed but will follow the NFL format. Basically what this means is that you take 5 proto-mechs as a star, and they all have to be part of the same unit. So, next up we have this part here. Select one mech, omni mech, or non-VTOL vehicle that is not the lowest or highest battle value eligible unit in your list to be the commander for week 3. So that is your there is a mission that will require you to kill the enemy commander, and this actually brings up some very interesting things. In my list that I'm thinking about, I'm probably going to use a spider as my commander because it's going to make him basically unable to be caught. You know, it's an 8-12-8. Essentially, the only thing that's catching it is maybe VTOLs or hover vehicles, and it can jump through woods in order to avoid the hovers. So, let's see. You have 4 mechs VTOL BA in your list. Commander must be a mech, but it cannot be a lowest or highest battle value. So in this case, you have 4 mechs, a VTOL, and a BA, right? So the VTOL and BA don't count. But if you'd had, say, instead of a VTOL, you had a tank, you could take the tank as well. And what I'm doing in order to make the Spider my commander, because it's only like 800 battle value, it's very cheap. Taking something even cheaper, so you can take a Savannah Master or a cheaper tank in order to make that Spider your commander. Right. Now, skills will be minimum 4 or 5, and it uses the one-step rule. So you can have a 3-4 or a 4-3, but you can't have, say, gunnery 3 and piloting 5. That's not allowed, right? You cannot use hardened armor, shields, artillery, or mortars. So no artillery of any kind. The only indirect fire weapons allowed are LRMs, essentially. No shields is interesting as well. There's not a lot of mechs with shields, but in 3150 there are more of them that have shields. So it's unlikely that you would have found a great mech with shields, but I have found a couple that I would have liked to have taken. Allowed ammo. So certain ammos are not available. Tandem charge SRMs, for example. Acid SRMs. What are they called? Deadfire LRMs are also not allowed, right? So we have Artemis or Narc, capable. Inferno ammo, Swarm ammo, Fragmentation ammo. So those are all LRMs, basically. And then you have LBX, solid and cluster, right? So you can the solid shots or the cluster shots. And you can take precision ammo on autocannons, just not on AC-20s. Apparently someone in the last tournament or something like that took precision AC-20s and it was completely broken. Also, the reason why Deadfire LRMs are not allowed is because they're using the old version. I think that probably once it's been updated, Deadfire LRMs will be allowed. Version 48 uses the old style of Deadfire LRMs where they are treated essentially as long-range SRMs. They're completely broken. You can't use them like that. I'll do a video on Deadfire LRMs in the future. Army list should be written out including model, variant, blah, blah, blah. All this. This is just very standard stuff. Now, the cheese stands alone. This is a very important list of little things here. So, essentially how it works, we'll go down to scoring first and go over how that works. And then we'll go back to the cheese and what's tolerable and what's not, essentially. Objective points can go to a maximum of 50. Combat points to a maximum of 50. So you can get a maximum of 100 points with some caveats. We'll get into those in a moment. Combat score is +8 victory points for each enemy unit that is crippled at the end of the game. So if it's ejected, if it fled the board, or if the unit is crippled, and there's some specifics for that. I think it's 3 limbs pierced, missing a side torso, has 2 engine crits, has 1 gyro crit, are sort of the most basic ones. So crippling enemy units is great. It gives you some points, but really you want them destroyed. It gives you almost double the amount of points. Now, most people are probably going to bring 5 or 6 units. I anticipate very few that are going to have just the baseline 4 units. I don't think that you're going to see many lists with that. So, you cripple 4 units, right? That's 32 points. If you kill another one, that gives you 47, so you're almost maxed. I don't think that kill points are going to be much of a problem. Although a smart opponent might run their mech off, they might eject one that's about to be completely destroyed. But it removes them from the game a little bit sooner. It means they're not firing their guns. It's I don't think that kill points are going to be where anyone's going to struggle, though. I think that you're probably going to get 40, 50 points pretty much every game. That shouldn't be a problem, because just 2 mechs destroyed is 30 points, right? Then you just need 1 more, and you're at 45. So, probably not going to be difficult to max those out. Now, tiebreaker points, these are interesting. Basically, if the dice screw you, you get tiebreaker points, and they stack up week to week. And if you should have a tie with your opponent, say you both score maximum points and you both get 100 points, then if it's a tie, then you can pull in your tiebreaker points and you'll get the win, which gives you the victory bonus. Where is that listed? Here it is. Winner of the mission will get an additional 20 victory points added after the game for standings rank. Now, let's go over the cheese score up here. So we have a few things that are sort of frowned upon. They're kind of known as being cheesy in the Battle.net community. Blah, blah, blah. This is just sort of, an explanation of what it is. Each of these things will cost you victory points at the end of a match. And then the victory is determined and the victory bonus is applied. So you could take a bunch of cheesy units in hopes that you will be able to just trounce your opponents and deal maximum damage to them. But every cheesy thing that you take is going to really impact your overall score, because it's multiple weeks, right? And then your score is added up each week. And then at the end of the month, whoever has the highest overall score wins the tournament. Now, there's no prizes or anything. It's just really bragging rights. But who knows? Maybe in the future, once the MRC gets a little bit bigger, maybe they'll get them some sponsors and you can get some mech packs or something like that sent to you. So, first of all, the MUL. What is the MUL? Well, it is Master Unit List. And I'll just quickly go over here and... Master Unit List. Oh, you see I've got it already pulled up here. So this is just a website that basically shows you all of the different factions, and it shows you what they have available to them during a specific period of time. So let's say the Draconis Combine. That's one of the factions that I've been looking at a lot. The Thunderbolt 60 RLA, for example, is a great mech. It's a jumpy, heavy mech. Now, you can sort by multiple different things here. If you're playing Alpha Strike, you use PV. I use BV, obviously, here. You can sort by tonnage as well, and search for heavy mechs that have like a low battle value. You can do it that way. I prefer to use battle value. And you can scroll down here. The really good mechs don't really start until about 1,000 battle value or so. For the most part, there's a few that are reasonable up here. But you basically go through here and you pick out whatever mechs you want. I usually find things that are good on Mega Mech down here, and then I search the list and see if they're there. But we'll just click on one, for example, the Wraith. The Wraith is available to a lot of people, but you can see it's Free Worlds League, Draconis Combine, Sea Fox, Capellan Confederation, Magistracy of Canopus. All of these things have access to the Wraith. This is actually a Word of Blake, I think, and Calmstar mech originally, I believe. Yeah, Word of Blake is when it was originally introduced. Oh, it's just Word of Blake, actually. It's just a Word of Blake mech. I get Word of Blake and Comstar confused for obvious reasons sometimes. So we'll go back here. But you can see the Wraith, it counts as this. So pulse lasers are considered to be cheese because they get a -2 to hit. So any unit that has 20 or more pulse laser damage is considered cheese. Automatically. It could be a 2-3 assault mech. It doesn't matter. Right? So taking lots of pulse lasers on a mech is not particularly recommended. I will show you one of the units that I've been looking at. I'll come back to this in a moment. That's the map presets. For example, the Grasshopper 6K is a Draconis Combine mech, I think. Medium pulse, medium pulse, medium pulse, medium pulse, medium pulse. Obviously, this is a great mech. I mean, it's a 464. It's mobile. Has a lot of armor. It has a standard engine, which makes it quite durable. It has lots of heat sinks, so it can fire basically all of its weapons without overheating. But it has more than 20 pulse damage. So if you want to really optimize the mechs that you're taking, the max you can have is 3 medium pulse lasers, or 1 small pulse laser, 1 or small X pulse laser, whichever kind of small pulse laser. They all deal 3 damage. 1 medium pulse laser and 1 large pulse laser, or I think you can have like the weird not X pulse, the variable speed pulse lasers. They will use the maximum damage category for them, right? So the Spider that I'm using, for example, Spider 9M. This is the Spider that I'm going to be taking. It has 2 medium variable speed pulse lasers. I believe they deal 9 damage each at close range, so it will use the highest damage bracket. So this doesn't count as a cheese unit, even though it is very good. It's very mobile, has a reasonable amount of armor. You can see the armor distribution here is quite good. And adequate heat sinks. You know, it'll heat up a bit if it jumps as far as it can and fires both weapons. Where are we here now? Oh dear, I've lost track. So, sorry, 1 second. Alright, and we're back here. 20 points of pulse laser damage. So if it stacks, right? So if you have, say, I don't know, 4 large pulse lasers on a mech, then it's going to really mess you up. Now you can play clans, and they do have higher damage on their pulse lasers. So keep that in mind. You know, if you're bringing a clan mech with 2 large pulse lasers, it's immediately counting as a cheese unit. And any unit that uses pulse lasers with targeting computers is also a cheese unit. So you have to be very careful about that. There is a Shadowhawk that I was considering taking that has a single medium pulse laser and a targeting computer, and the targeting computer is linked into a light autocannon 5. So I was thinking about taking that as sort of a mobile brawler, but it counts as cheese points, and it's not really super optimized. So I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to bring it. Now, each unit with jump 7 or more, and the reason for this is because at 7 you get the 4 target movement modifier, and it makes you extremely mobile, and it makes you really good at jumping behind people. So having lots and lots of jumpy mechs is really frustrating to fight against. Not really something that you want to face off. You know, someone's got 3 spiders and, you know, a couple of heavy mechs in the back, and then like 1 brawler. That's going to be really, really annoying to deal with, right? So it's discouraged, but not quite as much as like pulse spam or targeting computer pulse. It's only -5 for this, and -8 for these two, and -5 for anyone using the Mercenary or Republic of the Sphere MUL. And we'll go back quickly. Right, so I've pulled up a mech that is on both the Mercenary and Republic of the Sphere MUL, but it's also part of the Federated Suns MUL. So if you're taking this as part of a Federated Suns list, say you wanted a Javelin for some reason, then it would not count for these cheese points, as far as I've been told. But if you're taking an all-mercenary force or an all-Republic of the Sphere force, or if you're pulling from those mols for your force, it will count as cheese points, alright? So, those are all the cheese things that you will get penalized for. But if we go down here to the bonuses, so if you run a mech that has both mask or a supercharger and jump jets, you can get +1 VP for that unit, up to 2. Right. So if you run something that has mask and jump jets, you get extra points at the end of the game, and that can determine whether or not you win or lose. So it can be important. And also intro tech mechs, up to 2. Right. So intro tech tanks do not count, but Intratech mechs do, right? And in Mega Mech, you can find all of the Intratech mechs here, right? So if you want to run one of the older, sort of less optimized spiders without any pulse lasers or anything on them, you can, right? If you wanted to run, for example, since we were talking about the Grasshopper, if you wanted to run the classic Grasshopper with all the medium lasers, you absolutely can. And to be honest, this is a fantastic unit, right? Oh, this is the 5H, the one that I was actually looking for. This one's pretty good. The 5H, quite good. 5N, actually, you know, not a bad unit right here. PPC, you know, it's got a bunch of medium lasers. Pretty solid, right? So, if you want to run an Intratech mech, find one that's reasonably good. See if it's in your MUL, right? We'll go into master unit list. We'll just look up at the Grasshopper. Grasshopper. Now you have to be pretty specific in here. If you want to look up a specific variant, you actually have to look up, you know, GHR, 4R, or whatever it is. So let's go in here. 5N. The 5N is where is it? Yeah, the 5N, right? And then we go to Dark Age, and unfortunately, it appears that it's extinct. Right? You cannot run an extinct mech. If it was Late Republic, we would be able to use it in mercenary forces or any periphery force. Right? And that is the other thing that you can pull from. There is Inner Sphere General and Clan General. Right? So Inner Sphere General is just going to be a bunch of sort of generic mechs and vehicles and things like that. Now, let's just go back in here for a moment. We'll look at the missions quickly. Just really quick. They're all fairly simple for the most part. Standard Deliver, straight up fight. Just combat score, but combat score is doubled, so you can score up to 100 points. So every mech that you kill is actually worth 30 points instead of 15. Right? And 16 for each crippled unit, or unit that ran away, things like that. Week 2, Slobberknocker. This favors melee units, right? So your tanks that probably can't ram. Ramming is difficult to pull off and usually not terribly effective. It usually blows your tank up. So you earn 5 objective points for each successful physical attack. Remember, this goes up to 50. So if you land 10 kicks in a match, you get the maximum points. But the enemy earns 2 objective points for each physical attack you miss. So if you miss a kick, you give the enemy 2 points. If you hit a kick, you get 5 points. And then this goes for the enemy as well. So if you are optimizing your kicks so that they can't kick you back, and also making it so that your kicks have a good chance of landing, you can really stack up quite a few points here. And similarly, if you have a really, really scary melee threat or like a bunch of AC-20s, maybe you're going to really push the enemy away from meleeing you so that you can really focus on getting this objective. So something to consider. I mean, it's not going to be the basis of a list, in my opinion, but having a melee mech is not a bad idea. Decapitation. So basically, oh, and there's also, it shows you where you deploy, right? North, south, northeast, and southwest, etc. Right? East, west. End of the game. Earn 25 objective points if the ending commander is crippled, or 50 if it's destroyed. This is one of the more important ones, and this is what I was discussing earlier with the spider. If you can deny a crippled status on your mech by basically running away the entire game, you can deny your opponent 25 or 50 points. Right? Very, very big points, very important. So I think that this is going to be really important, making your commander either really, really survivable, something that's like a big 100-tonner maybe, or something like that, or something really, really mobile that can just run away and be annoying to kill. Because, I mean, if your enemy spends the entire game chasing your commander around the map, I mean, you've basically won already, right? What's it? Sun Tzu said, force your enemy to fight how you want him to, or something like that. If your enemy is being predictable, it's much easier to predict their moves and move into an advantageous position. Week 4, Convoy Carnage. This is the final match, right? Each player will add 5 Eren Yes 3 Protomechs to their army in the pre-game lobby, and turn objective points for each enemy Eren Yes 3 destroyed at the end of the game. Earn 5 objective points if they are crippled. So, keeping with the half of their crippled sort of theme, this is something that's very interesting. Protomechs are not a unit that I know particularly large amount about. I looked them up in Mega Mech. If you can come in here and look up the Eren Yes. It's under clan, obviously, right? So if you look at it, I mean, you literally need to do 6 points of damage to the center torso, and it's dead, right? And the legs only also have 6 structure and armor together. So something with pulse lasers that's really fast is what you want to basically run around the map and kill this, right? If you've got 2-3 medium pulse lasers, you've got a reasonable chance of hitting either the legs or the torso, which I believe will kill it if you kill either, right? Once you've completely removed the mobility, the mech's basically dead. And the torso, just 1 medium pulse laser will kill it for IS side, obviously. If you are a planner, maybe you want a bunch of ER medium lasers with a targeting computer or something like that on a fast chassis. I think there's a Viper that does that. That might be something that you want to do. But very easy to kill overall, really, right? They're not really particularly fast. 5.8 is a little bit slow. So, essentially, those are your missions. So you have to build your force to be able to win all of those. So we'll get in tiebreaker points here quickly. 1 tiebreaker point every time you fail a roll needed of a target number 3, 4, or 5. Shooting, physical, PSR, consciousness shutdown, or ammo explosion. All of these are basically going to be giving you points, right? So you have to make sure that you're keeping track of how many times you fail a really easy roll. And so, like, you get your you need a 3 to stay conscious because you got hit in the head, and you roll a 2 and your mech gets knocked out. You've basically had a huge impact on your overall performance for the match, right? That mech might not get up for 2-3 turns. It might keep failing those pilot rolls. So that's going to be really bad. But you get a tiebreaker point. So, I mean, in the future, if you have a tie and you've had some bad luck in the past couple of matches, maybe it can result in you getting a win. So that's basically all of the sort of rules about the tournament. Their standard format is a little bit more complex, obviously. There's a lot more to it. But pretty basic Battletech rules, really, right? And then there should be somewhere in here with the special rules. Here it is. So we're taking damage. TAC Ops is Tactical Operations. It's a book that basically gives some optional rules that are that help in balancing the game a little bit. So we have taking damage, double blind, which basically means that you can only see what your actual units can see. You can't see the whole map. You can only see what your units have line of sight to. So VTOLs, again, really helpful here because they can fly up really high and see over all the mountains and stuff. Tech Ops sensors, so you can sense enemy units. You just can't tell what they are exactly. Simultaneous firing and physical. Basically, that means that you declare all of your attacks without seeing who the enemy is attacking. Helps a little bit with cheese. You know, if someone's firing all of their guns at your heavy mech, and it's already damaged, well, hey, who cares about heat? You're about to be dead, right? So you might as well fire all your weapons, even if it's like, I don't know, a Hellstar or something like that, or a Nova. You know, just fire all your guns, and you've got 30 heat. Who cares? You explode. because you're being shot by like 3 Gauss rifles. Vehicle effectiveness has been debated a bit actually in the Discord server. Some people don't like it. Essentially, it makes it harder to immobilize a tank. I like playing with this rule because otherwise tanks get immobilized like really easily, especially heavy vehicles. I find that they really get immobilized pretty easily anyways already. Battle armor versus battle armor damage is pretty self-explanatory. It just makes their weapons more effective against each other basically. And frontline initiative is really important because what it means is that if you have more units than the enemy, you move more of your units before they move their first unit, right? Or if they lose initiative, they move 1, you move 2, they move 1, you move 2, right? It depends on how many you have. If you're outnumbering someone like 5 to 1 and they win initiative, you will move all of your units before him, I think. It's something along those lines. So overall, pretty simple rules, pretty simple objectives. Now we'll just look at one last thing. This is the generated map settings. I'll just click through these quickly so that you can have a look at them. You can put them in yourself. 33 by 24. I chose Dropple just because I like the vibrant green color that it adds to the map. So those are your map settings, and an example board might look something like this, right? So we're looking at probably some mountains of like height 3 or 4, right? We're looking at some patches of forest here and there. And one important thing is that if you get a map that you don't like, maybe there's forest all in the middle and on this side, but you don't have any forest on your side of the map at all, right? That's not particularly favorable to you for your long-range sniping unit, right? You can veto that map and then get a new one, right? But this is what you're looking at, and something I didn't cover in my last video was if you hover over things in here, you can actually see what the particular hexes are. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell heavy woods and things like that. Lots of sand on this one randomly. There can be water. I've seen it mostly manifest as ice for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why that is. But there can be sound, you know, and lots of woods. So the terrain isn't particularly dense in this setup, but it might have a fair amount of. So I mean, this one is quite sparse, right? Like if I started on this side, I would probably ask to veto this map. You know, my opponent has a lovely big line of woods that he can hide in, and I'm stuck here with you know, a little piddly bit of woods there. Maybe I can push up to these woods here, right? Well, hugging cover, right? This looks to be level 2. Yeah, so this would be a level 2 hill. So we could hide our mechs behind here and make a break for the right side, right? But my opponent knows that I'm going to be doing that, right? There's only really one good place for me to fight from. So that basically is your overview of the upcoming tournament for September. Are you afraid of the Dark Age? 10,000 points, Dark Age. Any faction is available basically, but you have to pick mechs within that faction or the general list for that sort of side, right? Either clan or inner sphere. Anyways, thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. I would love to hear any comments, any recommendations. If you want to join the MRC or have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you later. Have a nice day.